All right, Kenny Smith, Total Force Holdings. This week is going to be all about some different communication stuff. Some of it you may have seen, some of it you may not have seen, some of it you may have heard about, some you may not have heard about. So the first thing when it comes to communication, especially if you're worried about communicating with your friends, family, allies, what have you during an emergency of some form, is you have to have a plan for your communication. And in the military, we really pushed what's called PACE planning. PACE, P-A-C-E, primary, alternate, contingency, and emergency. Whatever your primary method of communication is, that is your go-to. But in the event something isn't cooperating with it, you need an alternate, right? So let's say, like, I've got a really good friend of mine. The number one way to get in contact with her would not be the same as the number one way to get in contact with my wife. They use different bits for their primary communication. One's more reliable on one than the other. So I'm not knocking nobody. It's just depending on who you're talking to and what you're doing, your communication plan might change a little bit. So if you're like a lot of people and your only form of communicating with those that you would want to work with in the event something were to go sideways is the only thing you have, then, well, you got a problem. Your alternate would be if that doesn't work. So since most of us primarily communicate with our cell phone, she's my wife, for instance. Number one method for her to communicate, cell phone call. She's going to make a voice call. If that don't work, then you go to a text. All right? So then you've got my best friend. Love her to death. 90% chance of getting in contact with her with a Facebook message. Call her phone, text her phone, good luck. All right, so you've got your primary, you've got your alternate. Well, why would you need to go to your alternate otherwise? Well, your cell phone might die, or you might be on Wi-Fi, and let's say you got Android versus iPhone, where you may not necessarily be able to call out on Wi-Fi, but you can do other things. That would be an alternate. Now you get into contingency. Primary and alternate are not working. What next? This is the contingency. It's not ideal, but you've got the capability. And then finally, you've got your last ditch, which is your emergency communication plan or your emergency communications method. All right. PACE planning goes into a lot of things, but it's in the military, at least, it's really driven home when it comes to setting up a comm plan. And when you really think about things, being able to communicate with your family during times of crisis and emergency, why would you not have the same concept used for military operations applied to your own personal communications? That's just my thought.